Well, it's been a while since we've done this, hasn't it? We've got another episode of People Make NNE today, and we're only kind of 9 months into Julie being here, but this is the first chance that Julie and I have had to sit down together, and perhaps it's a good thing because it's given Julie a bit of time to get used to our circuit and to find out what she's doing in her role as a pioneer in the city centre. So, shall we go and chat with her and see if I can remember these questions? Right, so it's been a while, and Mac's going to join in with this conversation. It's been a while
Yes.
since I've done one of these conversations with anybody, so I'm hoping I can remember all the questions. But Julie, it's good to be here with you today, to
Thank
come
you.
and sit in your office with you and to get to know you a bit better.
Yeah.
So we've been in the same circuit for about 9 months now,
Yeah, something like that, perhaps.
and it's flown by, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. I can't
Really
believe
has.
it, nearly a year's over.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's crack on with these questions before we dive into what you've brought for us to share together.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Julie, what is your full name?
My full name is Julie Morton. I don't have a middle name. I'm not posh like that. So it's just Julie and Morton.
Okay, well, there's lots that would claim that isn't posh to have things in the middle. But yeah, okay, nice and simple. This is that rude question. But how old are you, Julie?
I don't like this one at all. and I don't have to admit to it unless I have to, but I'm 61.
61, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. You're not the oldest in the circuit.
No.
And what's your role here in the circuit?
So I'm a Methodist deacon with a specific role for working in the city centre as pioneer and trying to set up a new Christian community. Also thinking about how we can engage with the community, what would be the best way to do that, and also to provide services and opportunities for people, perhaps in terms of creativity or around mental health. We're exploring what might be the best thing.
Very good. So starting with a blank canvas, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And just see where you get led.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you're not directly associated then with any churches in the circuit?
No.
Do you have a church in the circuit that you go to for worship, or do you have somewhere else that you go to for worship?
I go to Arnold Methodist Church, yeah. So if I'm not preaching, I go there. Yeah.
Very good. So as we say, you've been here now for 9 months. It's not very long here with us in Nottingham North East. But how long have you been a deacon in general?
Nearly 8 years.
Okay.
So I was 7 years in Telford, and because there's nearly 1 year here. So yeah, only 8 years in total.
Okay. So now my maths says if you take 8 off of 61...
Yes.
There were 53 years before
Quite a few, yes.
What did you do in those 53 years?
A variety of things really. Sort of backtracking, if you like, most recent. I worked for the library at Cliff College.
Okay.
For a short time, well, 1 day a week for 3 years, I think. And I also, alongside that, worked for a job skills programme in Chesterfield. And that ran from, was a converted pub. They'd been converted by an evangelical church in the town into a really nice cafe, and part of that could be divided off into a study space and a classroom. So we used to run short courses, and to start off with, I used to be the recruitment coordinator, and I used to go out on the streets basically looking for people to come on the course. I also used to speak to organisations and ask them if they would take people for work experience 1 day a week. It was only 6 weeks course, and I used to do that as well. And then I used to have some input with the actual course participants once it started. And then towards the end of that time, when I was working, it was called the Compass. Once at the end of that time, I became a study skills tutor and worked with people one-to-one, trying to help them back into work. For whatever reason, they'd been struggling to get into work, and I used to help them with that.
Excellent.
Prior to that, I've had quite a lot of jobs because I moved around a lot with my husband, who was a Methodist presbyter, Gordon. And so prior to that, one of the things I did was I worked for Sure Start. The lead body was Action for Children, and I was office manager there and first person in the programme So helped to set everything up from scratch with that. I spent some time attempting to train to be a teacher, which didn't work out too well. But
lots of transferable skills, though.
Yeah, nothing that I regret. You know, it just I didn't get an essay in on time, and so I was asked to leave the course.
Okay.
But you know, these things happen for a reason, and I didn't feel that I could fit everything that I wanted to do in with the teaching anyway. I was beginning to worry about that. So I think that all worked out for the best. And yeah, and in the midst of all that, we adopted my daughter, so that was another challenge, which was 8, which I'll talk about a bit more later. But trying to think about teaching and looking after her and everything else, and I thought it wasn't going to work, so I didn't do that. Done quite a lot of different admin jobs. My first job was at an X-ray department at Barnsley General Hospital, and I was there for 7 years, and then I moved into HR, human resources. Worked at the Hallamshire in Sheffield, Western Park in Sheffield, and what was then the Regional Health Authority headquarters in Sheffield at Fulwood. And then from there, I'm moving about a bit here, but from there I went to, Gordon and I were asked to go and consider being leaders of a seed team, SWED team, with Rob Frost, who was the national evangelist for the Methodist Church. And so we led a team of 12 for a year at East End Mission on Commercial Road in Stepney, which was challenging but fun as well, I suppose. And then we went to Forest Gate down the road. Spent a year being caretakers, stroke lay workers, and I also worked at Rob's office as well for some of that time. And then Gordon went to Theological College in Lincoln, so we spent 3 years in Lincoln. But during that time, the college actually closed, and Gordon did finish his training off at the Urban Theology Unit in Sheffield. But while I worked at the hospitals in Lincoln, and then went to Prescott and St Helens in Merseyside for Gordon's first appointment. And whilst we were there, I worked with an organisation called Shine St Helens into Neighbourhood Evangelisation. Bit of a mouthful.
Hence the Shine.
yeah, that's right. But basically what I was doing was that I was the admin coordinator, and the vision was to reach the whole town for Christ through church, through community, and we worked ecumenically, and it was wonderful. Loved it. And so sort of I've gone from the back to the front and in between sort of thing, and then from there we moved to Rotherham, and Gordon was industrial chaplain, and that's where I did some work with the council on supply type stuff, but then I began to work for Sure Start, so sort of the whole thing links up. So I've done quite a lot of different things really.
Interesting. And like I say, lots of transferable skills. And I can begin to see already where they all fit into your perhaps calling as a deacon, but I'm sure we'll explore that in a little bit. What did you bring for us to eat and drink together while we continue to chat?
So I thought I would bring some hot cross buns. Hot cross buns seem very appropriate. We're talking in Holy Week. And there's all sorts of reasons why. Stories about the origins of hot cross buns. Some say that there was a monk who baked them originally in the 14th century, put the crosses on the top. But there's also other stories around that as well. It's supposed to be best eaten hot, but I don't personally feel that. I like them cold.
That's fine, I'm with you on that.
So that's one thing. The drink is tea, and that really is because tea is very much, I'm from Barnsley. I see it as being a very working class drink. My mum and dad always drank tea. We never had coffee in the house. And so I see that as being part of my roots really. And so I thought it would be good to drink that as well, to reflect that.
We can
so
do that.
It should be billed as tea really, but it's not quite strong enough. But
that's all right. We'll munch and we'll drink away as we go through. Oh, that's a good cup of tea. So these are the quick fire questions. Now, as I'm sure you've watched a couple of episodes, they tend to take longer than all the other questions combined, depending on how well we get into it or how contentious your answers are. So, what is your favourite flavour of cake?
I think I would say lemon drizzle cake. I really like lemon drizzle cake.
Good
it's very
shout.
Nice. Yes.
Yes.
Not too fancy. Not over flavoured. It's just very simple and nice. Yeah.
Do you turn your nose up at any cake? Or like
not very
is
often,
most
no.
cake?
No.
That's a good answer. Good answer. So we're drinking tea, but tea or coffee in general?
In general, I would say coffee. Yeah,
Okay.
I like coffee. Yeah, decaf, but I like it. Decaf and strong, which is a bit of a contradiction in terms maybe, but I like
the flavour without the shapes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
you got it.
Do you like sport? Do you have a favourite sport or?
I would say not particularly, no. But I think if anything, I like swimming.
Okay.
And if it's Olympics, I like to watch swimming.
Yeah.
And also that's something that I participate in myself. So that's another reason I like it.
You shared with us at staff meeting yesterday that
Yeah.
you've been swimming before you
That's
came to
right.
the staff meeting.
Yeah.
Proper commitment.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. What about films? Do you like films?
I do. I like films a lot, and I watch quite a lot of them. Yeah, I think one of my favourites is Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
Okay.
And I really like that film set in Greece, which is one of my favourite places, and in the Second World War, and it's about the Italians coming to invade Greece and about the relationships between the locals and the Italian army, and but I like the fact that it's intertwined, or woven through it is a love story, of course. But I also like the history aspect of it, that you learn something about Greece, you learn something about the army and the whole thing, what really happened, and how for the Greeks went to fight in Albania, and how terrible it was for them, and so I think there's so much in it. There's a lot of depth in it if you look for it.
Right.
And the impression you get is that the Italians spend all the time singing. But it's actually, and I'm sure that they might well do, but it's about so much more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. It's one that I've heard of lots, but I've never actually watched it, so maybe I'll have to dig it out.
Yeah.
What about music? Do you like music?
Yeah, I like music a lot as well. Yeah. Even after all this time, my favourite band is still Queen.
Okay.
And I've tried to be open and think perhaps something will come along that it will change my mind about Queen and not been my favourite, which it has been since I was 15. And and Bohemian Rhapsody is still my very favourite song. Yeah, by Queen.
Sitting in the car, headbanging.
Exactly, yeah, you got it.
Perfect. That's not a band to be ashamed of at all. So that's fine. Do you have any hobbies?
One thing that I like to do is paint pebbles. So I paint pebbles, and I've encouraged other people to paint them as well. And I've done it seasonally and taken them out. It says on the back of this one, faith, hope and love, and the greatest of these is love. We've put them around in the community for people to pick up. And so I enjoy doing that.
It's a lot of detail and precision in those.
Yeah, so I haven't done it recently, I have to confess, but I do like doing it.
Does the art go beyond stones, or do you
other
things? Or?
The other thing I like to do is Bible journaling.
Okay.
But when you say art, I would use that very loosely. Because it's not, I'm not an artist really, but I just like to journal. I like to draw, and I just want to show you what I did last night. So I was thinking about Peter denying Jesus, and drew the cock and the cock crowing 3 times. Jesus having denied, the cock crowing, Jesus having denied, Peter having denied Jesus, and so that's something that I like to do as well. But I wouldn't anything. I wouldn't call it art.
There is creativity.
Creativity, yes, but yes.
Okay. And do you have a hidden talent?
I would say really, this is as far as it goes in some respects, painting the stones. The other thing I like to do, and I want to join a group, is I've got a djembe drum, and I used to be in a drumming circle, and I used to love that, and I want to pick that up again. So that was it's wonderful, very, very therapeutic.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'd like to do that as well.
I have a djembe as well.
Do you?
Yeah, proper goat skin head. And
Yeah.
It's got a tear in it, so I need to find somewhere that will replace it for me.
Yeah, I love it. Love playing it. Wonderful. Yeah.
So we've got art, we've got painting stones, we've got drumming. Next question. What would you say is your greatest achievement?
It's quite a difficult one to come up with, but in the end, what I decided was, and the more I think about it, I think it really is. It's the fact that we adopted a little girl at 8 years old, Emma. She's now 29. She's been through all kinds of things. It's not been easy for any of us, and yet she's still with us, and she's trying to make her own way in the world. That's not always easy for her, but I feel that she's my greatest achievement, and I'm so proud of her. Yeah, so I would say her, definitely.
It's lovely to hear, and I'm sure it'll be lovely for her to hear as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any tenuous links to celebrities?
Well, the only one I could think of was that some time ago now, when I used to live in Barnsley, we ran an event for the church, and Dickie Bird came along, and because Dickie Bird is from Barnsley, the cricket umpire, it's from Barnsley anyway, and he came along to this event to support us. So that's my link to a celebrity, a sporting celebrity.
I'll let you have that.
Thank you.
You have that. And I'll let you get you a wee swally. But then something about you that nobody knows, or very few people know.
I don't know. This is really difficult.
It's confession time, isn't
It
it?
is,
What am I willing to say?
I know. I don't know. I honestly can't think of. I'm sure there's lots of things really, but I can't think of anything. Not many people know about the Stones, and that I do that, and not many people know about the drums. But I can't think of anything else, Mark, to be honest.
Okay, well that's fine. As the freshest face to the circuit, when we ask you questions, we'll always discover more things anyway that come up. And obviously I've learnt lots about you already as we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
What random item did you bring that tells us something about you?
Well, this is one thing I've got, which is a beautiful book that was made by somebody in Telford in my previous circuit, and it has in it all my ordination cards, and so it tells you obviously that I was ordained at Methodist Central Hall in 2016, and it's just got quite a lot of stuff that is mainly cards really people have sent me, and it just says something about my journey. And who I am as a deacon, which is really, really important, and is important to me now as it was when I felt the call to be a deacon. So I just thought that would bring that along for you to have a look at.
Yes, very nice.
And I like it particularly because somebody made it, and I think that things that are homemade are wonderful. They're very special.
It draws together all those kind of memories that you have and those messages from other people. And
It does. So that's very special. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to eat a little bit of this hot cross bun.
Yeah.
And we'll move on to more questions.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I'll edit this bit out.
Yes, yeah.
So this next sort of section is thinking about your faith journey, kind of who you are in your faith and how you've come to this place. So why have you landed in this place called Christianity?
I would say that is simply because, and I might be going into the next question.
You can blend all of these together.
Yeah, it's because in the village that I I lived in as a child. There was a Methodist church, chapel as we called it, and my parents sent me there. And so I, from being about 7 to when I left to get married, because I didn't go to university, I went to that church. And so that became my faith foundation, if you like. And so because of that, that's why simply, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian, not another religion or denomination. And the Methodist Church was the only church in the village anyway.
Okay.
And it made sense to go there. And as a child, all my friends went there as well. Although as I got to about 16, by 16 they'd all left, and there's only me. Even then, yeah, the numbers have fallen away.
So it's all because your parents wanted a quiet Sunday morning?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they didn't go to church. Yeah, they just dropped me off.
There we go. There we go. So obviously that foundation became kind of a faith to you. That became what was real. That's how you were kind of brought into this life as a disciple.
Yeah.
But how did you get your calling to become a deacon, to serve the church in the way that you do? And I'm guessing this comes into a lot of the things that you've shared about your previous employment as well.
Yeah. When I was working in the job skills programme in particular, I used to support the course participants in ways perhaps I shouldn't always have done. And so I went above and beyond what I was supposed to do. So on one occasion we decided to hold the course in a working men's club, and I knew that one of the course participants was an alcoholic, and I thought she might struggle to get to the course, and so I used to pick her up and take her. And there's somebody else who was a care leaver and just struggled with trying to furnish his flat, and so I gave him bedding and so on as well. And I just had a real sense of God calling me to be in that place to serve. The nature of things like that and that sort of course is that the funding comes to an end. But I was already beginning to feel that God was leading me onto something else. And then when I went to Cliff College to the festival weekend, and I heard Les Isaacs preach. Les Isaacs was the founder of Street Pastors, and he spoke from Luke 4, which is I know it's a common calling passage really. Luke 4:18, the Lord's Spirit has come to me because he's chosen me to tell the good news to the poor. The Lord has sent me to pronounce freedom for prisoners, to give sight to the blind, to free everyone who suffers, and to say this is the year the Lord has chosen. And as he said those words and preached on those words, I just thought, this is it. This is it, because actually the process of candidating for the Methodist ministry is not easy and it's long. But I really felt at that moment in time that God was calling me to explore what Methodist ministry might mean for me. And I felt very clearly it was a diaconate, because I think the diaconal order is very much about service, and I had a strong sense of feeling called to serve in both being a leader, a servant leader. So 1 minute that can be about washing the pots, but the next minute it can be about leadership and actually leading people on in whatever that might mean.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my passage really. And within that also that expresses to me what is important. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he's anointed me to preach good news to the poor. Preaching was my first calling, and I became a local preacher in 1996.
Okay.
And I still feel that very strongly. A lot of deacons are not preachers, but for me that is now part of my calling as a deacon as well. And but I think as what it talks about freedom for the oppressed, and whatever that might mean, if people I can enable people to live lives that are transformed and have hope, give them hope in some way. And it also talks about prisoners, and I see that in many different ways again, because you can be a prisoner through mental health issues that can cause you to be a prisoner. So it's not just about the physical imprisonment of people. It's about so much more than that. There could be prison in terms of addictions.
Yeah.
And again, if I can help to bring hope and help people to see that there is another way, then that's what I feel I'm called to do. Yeah.
Brilliant. So that kind of answers all of those questions. And picking it a little bit apart.
Yeah, please do.
What skills do you feel like you picked up in those previous careers that really help you to do what you do now, including, I guess, with the teacher training as well and things? Where do you see those threads coming together to who you are?
Yeah, I think a number of things really. I think one of them is I feel I've got the ability to sit down and talk to people one-to-one, to have conversations with them, to try and draw out from them, as you're doing with me, and different aspects of who they are and what's going on for them. And I think those one-to-one conversations are really important and can be actually one of the key things. Yeah. I think another thing I've already mentioned about preaching, I think whether that's physical preaching in terms of standing in front of a congregation, or whether it's about small groups, just being able to unpack a passage with people, I think that's really important as well. I think listening skills are really, really important as part of who I am as a deacon. And as I said before about servanthood, servant ministry, I'm quite happy to do anything. I think I don't see anything as being beyond me in terms of, I will pick up a tea towel and wipe the pots and, clean the tables and anything that needs to be done, I'll do. And I see myself as alongside other people in the church. We work together in ministry. I'm not seeing myself elevated in any way. And so I think that's really important as well.
It's often when we pick up the tea towel that we find we can have those conversations as well.
Exactly, yeah.
And one of the other things you said was being able to discern and perhaps to see things that are unsaid. So you notice, well, actually being in a working men's club for an alcoholic might be a difficult thing. So therefore I can help and to discern perhaps those extra steps that can be taken is really important.
Yeah.
We'll have a break in a second, but before we do that, what hymn or worship song do you find speaks to you most at the moment, and why?
A hymn that I really, really love at the moment is Oceans Where Feet May Fail.
Yeah.
And I think that's so beautiful. The music is wonderful, but I think it's that sense of being reminded that it's talking about, the oceans and the sea, and we, as individuals, don't have the ability to walk on water, but actually, where we struggle, Jesus is there. And I just love it. I love it so much. And it's one of those things where I put it on and play it over and over again.
Yeah.
And it just gets me here. Yeah, so that's really wonderful.
Okay. Well, we'll have a listen to that now, and then we'll come back for our closing questions.
Okay, thank you.
Great unknown, where feet may fail. oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters, your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you never failed, and you won't start now. I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders, and let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. I will call upon your name. Keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine.
Right. So there we go. We've listened to Oceans, and it talks about that journey, doesn't it? Being called by Jesus to walk in faith.
Yeah.
But to realise that where we're walking is, we don't do it by our own strength, and there is that potential of the waves around us, and yet a willingness to listen, a willingness to keep journeying, that I think can be quite exciting. Once we have that faith and step out. With that in mind, where do you get most excited in your role as you journey in faith?
The thing that excites me more is most what I've said before, really, about the interaction with people. I've met lots of people already, doing all kinds of things in the city. I love all that, and learning more about them and what's happening, and how people are engaged across the city. But also, I think it is the one-to-ones. It's not the big things, it's the little things. Just being alongside somebody, just learning about them and trying to understand who they are, and marvelling at how wonderful God's created this person, these people, and made them beautiful, and feeling that you want to draw that out, really, for them to see that loveliness in themselves. So it's those one-to-one conversations for me that excite me more than anything else. It stimulates me and encourages me to just want to carry on doing more of that, which I'm looking forward to doing as the work that I'm involved with grows.
Yeah. And what bits of your role do you get least excited about?
I think, to be honest, the thing that least excites me is the nature of pioneer ministry is that you can spend quite a bit of time on your own.
Yep.
And that's the bit that I least like. Not that I dislike being on my own. I think, there are times when I really cherish that and appreciate it. But after several days of wandering the streets or doing something that just is meant that I have been by myself, that begins to wear me down a little bit, because I'm energised by being with other people.
Yeah.
And so don't find that easy to prolonged periods of time on my own.
What kind of we're going off topic again a little bit, because we haven't really sort of thought about what you do within your role. What is it that you're kind of seeking to do? You say you're seeking to build this community, but what does that begin to look like at the moment?
I mean, we're still trying to shape the vision, but how I see it is that we're going to look with this shop front. I have in mind at the moment that we will have those 3 spaces, and so I imagine that people will come in. It will be a place of welcome, a place where people can sit, chat to others, make new friends, but also a place where perhaps they'll want to come and have more purposeful conversations. I have very much in mind that loneliness is a major issue, and so I want to have a space where it's hospitable, where there are intentional listeners around for people who need to just sit and talk and spill their hearts, really. And the second area, like I said before, about that could be used for multi-purpose. It could be if somebody says, how about you run this group or that group, we explore the possibility of that. We invite agencies in, organisations to perhaps run mental health, could be, or services, it could be creative arts. And then we have another space that is specifically for a Christian community, and that will be very much shaped around the people that come. And so it won't be a traditional church. It won't be about me saying or anybody else saying, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to sing, this is what we're going to say. It will be very much about exploring faith together and learning together in a way that is accessible and understandable. And I think for me, traditional church, the established church, often the language that we use is so alien to people.
Yeah.
And I'm really keen that we try to find ways to just be alongside those that are interested in coming along in ways that make sense to them.
And again, it goes back to what I'm hearing you saying. It's going back to that idea of looking after the whole person, and going on a journey with them, and having that space that they can move into as they need to.
Yeah.
At their pace.
That's right. Yeah, and not in ways that I think is right, but listening and learning about them and what's right for them. Yeah.
Brilliant. So as you go into this space, you've talked about you've talked about spending time alone and how that can sometimes be draining. You've talked about the excitement of meeting with other people and your kind of extroverted nature of drawing energy from conversations.
Yeah.
But how do you keep yourself going spiritually through all of those things, to be able to help people but to able to endure those times alone as well?
Yeah. I use, and I can't see it now, but the diaconal prayer diary. We have the Methodist, the deacons have a prayer diary, and I use that and pray for people each day within the order, but also have prayers within that as well that I use. One of the things that I use is this common prayer, which is very simple by Shane Claiborne, and I just really like this, and I like the simplicity of it. I'm a very simple person, and so I just so it's very similar to the Celtic Daily Prayer.
Okay.
And so I use this and as well as a backup. But as I say, the Methodist, the deacons, the Diaconal Prayer Diary is my main thing really, but I'll dip into other things as well depending on the season. So I've been reading Lent for Everyone by Tom Wright during Lent, and I'll pick up something during Advent and other things during the year. But the prayer diary is my foundation, really, I would say.
Brilliant. A couple more questions then. What have you learnt recently about God that you'd like us all to hear?
Gosh, that's quite a difficult one, isn't it?
Well,
it's a big question.
It's all about drawing out kind of where you are right now and kind of helping us to go on a journey.
Yeah. I think what I'd say is I've learnt that God is in every place and in every situation, and not that it's a particularly new thing that I've learned, but sometimes you have a conversation with somebody. I was talking to somebody this morning, and I'm just thinking to myself, this person is just full of the love of God, and yet you see her, and you might see somebody else. I might see somebody else who's completely different in a different situation, and think, yeah, God is at work in their lives as well. And it's so easy for us to just think that God is restricted to certain people who might speak out about who He is, but actually is at work in everybody without exception. And that's what needs to be teased out sometimes. But I want people to know that. I've sort of said that before already, really. But I think for me, recognising that God is at work in every place and every person without exception. And that again encourages me and gives me hope when people are struggling, to think there is a way forward for you, even though you might not have seen it, and that God is at work in you.
Brilliant. And what is your vision for the people of Nottingham North East? Kind of as we journey with you, as we journey together, as we discover more of who God is, as we discover more about our calling, kind of what is your hope? What do you sense God is calling us to as a circuit?
I think what I would say about that is that I want us to be a people of prayer. That for me, that is the first thing, the priority, that we are a people of prayer. We might say we already are, but I think that it's not just about Nottingham North East, but the same could apply to every circuit, every church. There's always more you can do. So I want us to be a people of prayer. I want us to be people who are making disciples. I want us to be people who are looking outside the buildings, their church buildings, to say, how can we engage with this community? And my vision that we are people who are actually, it's not a case of this is a community, this is a church, but we're at the heart of what's happening. And we know what's happening in the community, and the community knows what's happening in the church, and we're one together. And so I would want to see churches being places where there are lots of small groups, there are lots of opportunities for people to engage with the Bible in different ways that make sense to them. We all have different learning styles, but that would then give people the confidence to think, yeah, I can go and talk to others about Jesus, and that's what I want people to be able to do.
Brilliant. To that end, then, as we finish, can you pray for us?
Indeed, yeah. Let's pray.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this conversation, and for Marc, and Lord, help us to remember that we are indeed your children, that each one of us has many gifts and gifts that we can use in our service of you. And so, Lord, we offer this time of conversation to you and pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Big Mac. No snoring. Okay?